Zimbabwe's victory over Bangladesh in Harare will be remembered because of the scoreline, but the real story lies far beyond the numbers. On paper, it looks simple. Zimbabwe scored 410, Bangladesh managed 140 and 185, and the hosts secured their biggest ever test victory by an innings and 85 runs. Innocent Kaya was named player of the match for his maiden test century, while Blessing Mujarbani and the pace attack dismantled Bangladesh across both innings. But if you stop at the scorecard, you miss what made this performance so special. This wasn't just a team playing better cricket, it was a team executing a tactical plan almost flawlessly for 3 days. Coming into the test, Bangladesh were expected to have the upper hand. They had recently enjoyed success in international cricket, including impressive series victories in other formats, and even with a few regular players rested, they still looked stronger on paper. Zimbabwe, however, approached the game with a very clear understanding of their strengths. They knew they didn't need miracle deliveries or overly aggressive batting. Instead, they needed to make Bangladesh uncomfortable over long periods. In Test cricket, sustained pressure often matters more than moments of brilliance, and Zimbabwe embraced that philosophy from the very first over. The Harare surface wasn't an extreme bowling wicket. There wasn't extravagant swing or dramatic seam movement. Instead, it rewarded discipline. Zimbabwe's fast bowlers identified this immediately and consistently targeted the corridor just outside off stump. This area, often called the channel of uncertainty, forces batters to make decisions. Should they leave the ball, or should they play? By repeatedly asking that question, Zimbabwe slowly eroded Bangladesh's confidence. Rather than chasing wickets with spectacular deliveries, they built pressure through accuracy, forcing Bangladesh's batters to make mistakes. One of the most impressive aspects of Zimbabwe's bowling was how they created discomfort. Modern Test cricket isn't about producing one magical ball every over. It's about making every delivery difficult to score from. Bangladesh's batters found themselves defending repeatedly without finding easy singles or boundaries. Dot balls accumulated, frustration grew, and eventually poor decisions followed. Several wickets came from batters playing away from their body or feeling compelled to attack deliveries they might otherwise have left. Zimbabwe didn't simply capitalize on mistakes, they engineered them through relentless discipline. The field placements reflected this confidence. Throughout Bangladesh's innings, Zimbabwe maintained attacking fields with multiple slips, a gully, and close catchers. Many teams become defensive after a partnership develops, preferring to save boundaries. Zimbabwe did the opposite. By keeping attacking fields in place, they constantly reinforced the message that they expected edges and believed wickets would come. This psychological pressure is often overlooked, but it plays a huge role in Test cricket. Every batter walking to the crease immediately saw catchers waiting, making survival feel even more difficult. Bangladesh's first innings ended at just 140, but there were still moments of resistance. Mominul Haq played a composed innings of 60, showing patience and solid technique while wickets continued to fall around him. Rather than chasing risky boundaries, he focused on surviving and rotating the strike. The problem was that no one stayed with him long enough to build a meaningful partnership. Every time Bangladesh looked capable of rebuilding, Zimbabwe found another breakthrough. That inability to form substantial partnerships became one of the defining themes of the match. With such a modest first innings total, Zimbabwe had an opportunity to seize complete control, and they did so with remarkable maturity. Instead of trying to score rapidly, they batted with patience. The foundation of their innings was Innocent Kaya's outstanding 140. What made his century special wasn't just the number of runs but the manner in which they were scored. Kaya rarely forced shots early in his innings. He trusted his defense, left deliveries confidently, and waited for the bowlers to make mistakes. Whenever Bangladesh overpitched, he drove elegantly through the covers. Whenever they drifted onto his pads, he worked the ball through mid-wicket. His shot selection reflected a batter who understood that Test cricket rewards patience more than aggression. Kaya's innings also highlighted another crucial aspect of Zimbabwe's success: partnerships. Brian Bainate contributed valuable runs, Craig Erwin provided stability in the middle order, and Wesley Madhevere's unbeaten 77 ensured Zimbabwe kept building throughout the innings. None of these players felt the need to dominate individually. Instead, they focused on supporting one another and extending partnerships. Every 50-run stand increased Bangladesh's workload, physically and mentally. By the time Zimbabwe reached 410, they had built a commanding lead of 270 runs, placing Bangladesh under enormous scoreboard pressure. Despite the heavy defeat, Bangladesh did have one genuine bright spot with the ball. Tajul Islam produced an outstanding performance, finishing with 7 wickets in Zimbabwe's innings. His spell was a lesson in intelligent spin bowling. Rather than relying on extravagant turn, Tajul varied his pace, adjusted his angles, and repeatedly targeted areas that forced batters into uncertain footwork. He patiently built pressure over long spells, inviting mistakes rather than searching for miracle deliveries. However, Zimbabwe responded intelligently. Instead of taking unnecessary risks against Bangladesh's best bowler, they respected his spells, rotated the strike whenever possible, and looked to score more freely against the seamers. It was a mature batting approach that minimized Tajul's impact on the overall match despite his excellent figures. Bangladesh's second innings began with a mountain to climb, and psychologically, that can be one of the hardest situations in Test cricket. They were no longer playing to win, they were playing to survive. That mindset often leads to hesitation, and Zimbabwe exploited it perfectly. Blessing Mujarbani produced one of the defining spells of the match on the third morning. His success wasn't built on express pace alone but on intelligent use of length. He repeatedly bowled just short of a driving length, forcing batters onto the back foot. After conditioning them to expect that awkward length, he mixed in fuller deliveries that tempted them into uncertain drives. Mahmudul Hasan Joy and Mominul Haq both fell early, unable to adjust to the subtle change in length. Bangladesh did show more resistance in the second innings. The partnership between Najmul Hussain Shanto and Mushfiqur Rahim briefly gave them hope. Shanto looked to counterattack whenever scoring opportunities appeared, while Mushfiqur concentrated on absorbing pressure with compact defense. Their contrasting styles worked well together, allowing Bangladesh to cross the 100-run mark and briefly slow Zimbabwe's momentum. It was a reminder that partnerships, even relatively short ones, can change the rhythm of a Test match. But once again, Zimbabwe refused to abandon their plan. They stayed patient, maintained attacking fields, and continued bowling disciplined lines. Eventually, Shanto fell attempting to drive, Mushfiqur followed soon after, and Bangladesh's resistance quickly faded. Even the lower order showed some determination. Amite Hassan and Tajul Islam put together a useful partnership that delayed Zimbabwe's victory. It wasn't enough to change the outcome, but it demonstrated resilience. Zimbabwe, however, never allowed those moments of resistance to grow into genuine momentum. Their bowlers remained composed, trusted their process, and continued executing their plans until the final wicket fell. Another aspect that deserves recognition is Zimbabwe's fitness and consistency. Fast bowlers often lose pace or accuracy as a Test match progresses, but Mujarbani, Richard Nagarwa, and Newman Nyamhuri maintained their discipline throughout all 3 days. Even late in the match, they continued extracting bounce and hitting challenging lengths. This physical endurance allowed Zimbabwe to keep applying the same pressure from the opening session until the final wicket. It also reflected the preparation and conditioning behind this performance. The captaincy throughout the match was equally impressive. Zimbabwe resisted the temptation to become defensive at key moments. Bowling changes were well-timed, attacking fields remained in place, and every player seemed fully committed to the team's overall strategy. Rather than chasing individual milestones, the entire squad focused on maintaining pressure. That unity of purpose is often what separates good test teams from great ones. Ultimately, this wasn't just Zimbabwe's biggest test victory because of the margin. It was their biggest victory because of the quality of the performance. They bowled with discipline, batted with patience, fielded with energy, and executed a tactical blueprint that remained consistent for 3 days. Bangladesh had moments of individual quality, Mominal's 50, Tejul's 7 wickets, and the Shantu Mushfiqur partnership, but Test cricket is won through collective excellence. Zimbabwe had multiple batters contributing, multiple bowlers sharing wickets, and every player understanding their role. If Zimbabwe can replicate this level of discipline and tactical clarity in future test matches, they won't simply be viewed as a team capable of the occasional upset. They'll become a side that consistently challenges stronger opponents through intelligent, patient, and well-executed cricket. This match in Harare wasn't won by one extraordinary spell or one spectacular innings. It was won because Zimbabwe kept making the right decisions, over after over, session after session, until Bangladesh had no answers left. And that's exactly why this victory deserves to be remembered as one of the finest all-round test performances in Zimbabwe's cricketing history. Thank you for listening to this tactical review. This was an AI voiceover audio review, created from reading and analyzing multiple journalist and pundit reviews available online. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to watch more football tactical content like this, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, The Square Cut. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.